Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Veda and this is The Simple Budget. Here on my channel, I show you how my family is using the zero-based budgeting method in order to maintain a simplified financial life. If that sounds like content that you're interested in, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button and join our little crew here. And with that being said, let's get into today's video. Well, hello everyone and happy bonus content Wednesday. Lately, I just feel like I've had a video up 3 times a week. So at this point, it feels like not bonus content. It feels like just regular content, but I don't usually put up videos on Wednesdays, but this is just the way it is. As you can tell by the title, I decided to just go ahead and do my March budget with me today. We have a lot of content coming up in the next couple of weeks here. We've got a bill condensing. We've got my Etsy and YouTube cash stuffing. These are like things outside of the norm of my channel. So if you're new, I'm a budgeting YouTube channel, and I mostly go over, like on a consistent basis, I go over the zero-based budgeting method, how it has impacted our family for the positive, and how we are currently working to save up 6 months of expenses in our high yield savings account to use as an emergency fund. We in the past have paid off $60,000, just under $60,000 of consumer debt. And so this is our new goal that we are working toward. We have been successful in doing this by doing the zero-based budgeting method, zero-based budgeting along with cash stuffing. That's more of like a psychological game to me, the cash stuffing portion. But the zero-based budgeting method is super duper effective. And I always like to post my budget with me videos once a month so that you guys can see how the process, even though it doesn't really change that much from month to month, if you are disciplined and you stay consistent, you can achieve your financial goals. So anyways, getting back into my planned content for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a little bit of a departure from my usual. I'm still going to have my Monday cash stuffings and my Friday weekly check-ins. That's when we track our expenses. It's the bread and butter of budgeting as far as I'm concerned. But we do have some not unplanned for, but we just have a lot of bonus content coming. I'm also going to be doing, I'm going to be doing my intentional spending wardrobe wardrobe checklist. And so that is purely like fluff content. But if you happen to be new around here, I did a video, our 2025 financial goals. And in that, my personal goal for the year is to spend more intentionally. I tend to be a little bit more like fly by the seat of my pants. Budgeting this way has really enabled me to harness a little bit more discipline from within myself and be more responsible with my spending. So I haven't gone off the rails spending, but I do have a tendency to be a little bit more impulsive with my purchases. And so I've decided that this year I'm going to be more intentional with my spending. And so my spending habits usually revolve around wardrobe pieces. I am a person who likes to get dressed. I like to wear clothes. And even though I'm a very basic Betty, think like black, white, gray, tan, t-shirts and jeans, things like that. I do want to make sure that I am incorporating things into my wardrobe that have a lasting impact, meaning they will be there for years and years to come, and they're really high quality. And so I'm shifting my focus a little bit away from impulse purchases for clothing and more onto high quality, durable, long lasting, so more classic pieces. I still indulge in a trend here and there, but for the most part, I'm a classic sort of gal. And so I want to incorporate that mindset in my shopping. And so what I decided to do, for those of you who care about that little extra content from me, I decided I'm going to be uploading a video of my wardrobe wish list and letting you guys know, like on a quarterly basis, what I purchased from that wish list or what I purchased in keeping with the theme of intentional spending. I realized that was completely chatty and not at all to do with really the budget with me. But current Veda has decided that I'm going to go ahead and include a timestamp before all that chatting that I just did, letting those of you who know who are only here for the budget when you can catch the budget. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. But I did just want to let you know, for those of you who are regular viewers or want to remain regular viewers, what you can expect in the coming weeks from me as far as content is concerned. So anyways, without further ado, let's jump in March. Can you believe it? We are coming into March. I'm so excited. If you happen to be new here, I make these dashboards. I make cash envelopes, et cetera, et cetera. If you are interested, if it's in your budget, my Etsy shop is always linked below. I am still working on getting my actual physical budget planner listed for you guys. Who knows, maybe sometime this year. Oh goodness, I floated away. I don't know what I was thinking. I started like filling this out and I was like, wait a second, I gotta do this on camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom or grab this out of here, zoom you guys in, and we will actually get into the budget with me now that I'm done chattering away. Okay, I just realized that I forgot to read you guys this month's quote, which is a good one, and it's something that I talk about all the time. Discipline. Discipline leads to habits. Habits lead to consistency. Consistency leads to growth. Love this quote. Definitely, like when I was looking up like budgeting inspiration or just discipline inspiration, things that would encourage us to keep pressing forward even though it might feel difficult sometimes. This is like one of my favorite ones, one of my top ones. And I talk about this a lot on the channel. It's just consistency the whole way, disciplining yourself so that you can become consistent, so that you can change your financial health and life. So anyways, now that that's over, we are going to jump into it. The March budget. I love March, Texas in March. It is one of my most favorite. It's like we start getting into the 80-degree days, and I just love the warmth. It makes me so happy. Sorry, I'm gonna just grab my kombucha real quick. If I made any gulpy sounds, I will edit those out because I would hate to lose viewership over my gulping. Anyways, let's just get started, shall we? So a zero-based budget means that we come up with a plan for every single dollar that comes into our household. And sometimes you do that in the form of paying your bills. And then you also do that, not sometimes, you do that in the form of paying your bills, but then you also do that with sinking funds. And a sinking fund is essentially just a budgeting category that you may not spend money on that month, but you will spend money on at some point throughout the year. Some sinking funds are categories that you will spend money on every month. Sometimes they're categories that you spend on every other month. Sometimes they're categories you only spend on once a year, like Christmas or Hanukkah or Thanksgiving or whatever it is. So one of the things that we have benefited from the most in doing zero-based budgeting is always having the money waiting there for us when we need it. That has been the truest, most effective way of preventing us from going back into debt, is making sure that we are budgeting for all of the expenses that we have in our life. The way that I encourage people who are new to this is to view this is to make sure that you're watching as much content creation as you possibly can. I always encourage you to watch more than just my videos, because the way that I budget may confuse you, or the categories that I have may not be relevant to your life. And so it's always helpful to watch a couple different content creators, especially their budget with me. And the reason for that is because when you're trying to establish your own budget, sometimes it really does help to see what other people's categories or expenses are, so that you can say, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about our Zoom membership. Let me include that in there. Or I completely forgot to factor in school expenses. Let me go ahead and write that down. And so the broader field that you have to pull from in terms of research, the better off your budget will be. It was one of those things where, especially when we started budgeting in the beginning, I watched a variety of different content creators, and I tried to make sure, so like we're a family of 4, and I tried to make sure that I leaned toward family budgets, but it certainly wasn't my only, actually, some of my favorite YouTubers don't have kids. So it just is, sometimes it's just who you jive with too. And I know that you'll be able to relate to that. Like, it's just, oh, I could totally be friends with this person. So sometimes that's just what works. But if you're trying to figure out like what categories you should have it in your budget, like if you've written down the list of all the things that you can think of, and you're like, I know I'm coming up short on something, watch a couple other YouTubers and try to figure out like, or watch their budget with me, see what their categories are, and I guarantee you're going to start coming up with other line items in your budget that you need to factor in. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, I'll show you how we go about doing it. So first up, the sole income earner in my family is my husband. I do earn an income from Etsy and YouTube, but because it is completely like unplanned for income, we create our budget off of this, and then we create like ideal supplements that we would like to be able to do with my earned income from Etsy and YouTube. But our main budget comes from my husband, and all my papers are separating from each other and I can't pull this one down. Okay, there we go. So my husband's income for this month is going to be $8,843.76. And when I said we literally come up with a plan for every single dollar, I meant it. So, and actually every single cent, because by the end of this, I will have zero change left over. It's just the way that it works. So first up, we start with our bills and expenses. These are the things that come out of your account every single month that you have to, take into consideration. It's also high priority items that I choose to put over here, like groceries, household toiletries, things like that. And so you'll see as we go down. But first up, our mortgage is $2,345.87. Next up is our water bill. And this one fluctuates from month to month, and we just kind of throw a whole dollar amount at it and then roll over any extra from month to month, building up for those months where we spend a little bit more on our water, like in the summertime when we're running our sprinklers. So for this month, we're doing $120. Next up, we have life insurance. And life insurance it never changes. It's $113.24. This is going to be changing soon because we are updating our policies, but for now, for the time being, this is what it is. Car insurance is another one that stays relatively the same. It may fluctuate a couple dollars here or there, and we give it $120 a month, unless, again, we have to factor in a change, and then we will accommodate it as is necessary. My husband trains jujitsu. Spelling it is always an adventure, and that costs us $116.10 a month. This is purely like discretionary spending, but this comes from my husband's like personal spending every single month, and so we put it over with bills and expenses because it's an auto debited thing. But if he were to lose his job or something, we would completely nix this. It would not be funded. So it's one of those things, we put it over with bills and expenses like it's a high priority, but it's only because it's auto debited. Next up, we have internet, and this one doesn't change on us unless like it's changing its annual rate, and it's $60.57. Next up is our phone bill, and this one is $128. We will be switching providers soon. We are on the precipice of being done paying for one of our phones. Somebody mentioned in the comments once, they were like, that's a debt, you should have paid that off. And I'm like, okay, potato. I mean, yes, technically it's a debt because we're still paying on a phone, but it's definitely not something that like we were super pressed about as far as like paying off our debt was concerned. It's just one of those things, like it comes out of our phone bill. It is what it is. If you want to be like really particular about it, should we have paid it off with our consumer debt? Sure. But it wasn't something we were particularly pressed about. But once we are done paying for my husband's phone, we're going to switch phone providers and get a better deal. Bless it. Anyways, moving right along. Electric is up next, and this one is one, again, that fluctuates from month to month. We give it $200 a month because we want to make sure that we have a decent rollover for the expensive months of the year when we're running the air conditioning like crazy people, because we live in Texas and it gets hot here in like August and September especially. So, it's expensive. Air conditioning is expensive. Anyways, moving right along. Groceries. Groceries is an ever discussed topic on my channel here. We are still trying to decide if we are going to increase our budget for this from month to month. We did sort of throw a little bit of extra. I mean, this is pitiful. Our typical budget for it is $1,900 a month. We're doing $1,930 right now. I mean, I know everybody is feeling the squeeze of inflation and grocery prices going up and all of that. So we just kind of pulled this extra $30 from like other places. And so, you know, that's what we decided to just throw it at groceries basically. But we are probably going to have to increase this or find ways of throwing extra money at it. I'm not really sure, but it's just, man, I'm telling you, it's killing me. Plus the egg shortage. I mean, it's a lot. And it's very frustrating to go grocery shopping and feel like everything that you thought you had a handle on is like, I don't know, upended. So that's sort of where I'm at right now, but it's fine. I'm fine. We're fine. Everyone's fine. Next up is gas. And we pulled from this one. We usually budget anywhere from like $130 to $150 for this a month. We don't drive very often. And so we don't spend a lot on gas. And so we have a pretty decent rollover in gas. And so Mr. Simple was like, just do 100 and we'll throw the extra money toward groceries. And I think that's what we ended up doing. So that's what we did. Gas is getting $100 this month. Household is up next. And this literally just covers household purchases. That's what it does. And I decided to go ahead and give it $90 this month. Usually I do between 70 to 80. I did 90 because we're a little light in household right now and we're a little like flush in toiletries. Sorry about that, was just interrupted. Yeah, so what I decided to do was give toiletries a little bit less this month. So toiletries is getting $60 so that household can get $90. Next up is subscriptions. Mr. Simple and I played around with this one. We had like one of the more premium Netflix memberships. And so we significantly reduced that one so that we could also do Hulu because, oh my gosh, I have been watching the Scamanda. I think that's how you pronounce it. The Scamanda series on Hulu. You guys, if you've not heard of this, it's this woman. I think she was a California resident. She faked cancer and basically stole like hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the only thing that the IRS could prove was $100,000 because everything else was given to her in like cash and gifts of service and stuff like that. Anyways, I saw the advertisement for it and I was like, oh my gosh, we have to get Hulu so that I can watch that. And so we did. And now the Scamanda series is over. But this week, the Ruby Frankie documentary is coming to Hulu. And I was like, oh, well, I got to keep Hulu for that too, because, oh my gosh, I have loathed Ruby Frankie since I first saw her on YouTube years ago. And then, you know, to find out she was like abusing her kids horrifically. And she is like, I think in her case and everything, like she's getting jail time, which is wonderful. I mean, I personally think they should string her up from her toenails, but that's just me when you abuse children. Anyways, moving right along. So we reduced our Netflix subscription so that we could add the Hulu subscription to our subscriptions plethora. Oh, excuse me. There's a bus outside that just has to make noise. I know you can hear that. Is that excessive or what? Anyways, so our subscriptions, we actually ended up saving money because our Netflix was so expensive because we had like one of the premium ones. So now subscriptions is $61 a month. It used to be like 66 or 67, but reducing the Netflix and adding the Hulu has resulted in $61 and I am not mad at it. So anyways, watch Scamanda. Unless it's like, you know, unless cancer fraud would hit home for you in a painful way, don't watch it. But if you like a good documentary or a good true crime story, Scamanda is a good one to watch. Anyways, taxes is up next. And this is just the money that we set aside to pay the person who does our taxes for us every year. And so we put $30 toward that. And then the last few are just like small dollar amounts that we save once a month. Oh, HOA, finance coach, and union dues. And like I said, these are small dollar amounts that we're saving for annually. So our HOA, we put $17 a month toward. Union dues, we put $15 a month toward. Finance coach, I'm going to talk about a little bit. We get questions about this one from time to time, and so I like to just address it in the budget with me. This is specific to my husband's job, unfortunately, or I would give you guys all of the information. It's a subscription service that we pay for every single year. And like I said, though, it's specific to my husband's job and his retirement account. And it's a guy who watches the markets and then basically makes a recommendation for where you should move your retirement funds from month to month so that you can maximize your payout in the market. So we pay $60 for that annually, and we pay $5 a month toward it. And it's definitely worth it for us to do. But I'm asked about it a lot because people are like, what in the world is that? We just call it finance coach because that's like essentially the name of it. But it's not really like an individual we're sitting and working with from month to month or anything like that. Anyways, in the interest of saving time, because I've already been super chatty, I'm going to just go ahead and tell you what the added amount is. So for this section of bills and expenses, it's $5,511.88. And so what we do personally is then move over into our sinking funds. Now, like I mentioned before, sinking funds, why is this such a pain? Sinking funds are budgeting categories where you are sinking money into these categories to make sure that you have money there and available for you whenever you do need to spend this money. So think of these like things that are not necessarily the high priority items in your life. There are certainly some high priority expenses over here, but you know that you're not going to spend money on this every single month. So the amounts that you put toward them are really dependent upon your own personal lifestyle and where you are as far as your financial health is concerned and how much money you have saved up and stuff like that. So just know that going into it, the numbers can be very, very flexible. And also you need to have grace with yourself as you kind of work out these numbers over the next like 6 months. If you're new to this, just give yourself a little bit of grace and understand that you're not going to nail down your numbers every single month. You're going to have to kind of play with stuff, and that's okay, because ultimately at the end of the day, the goal is for financial health. The goal is not for perfection. So jumping right into it, we have car expenses up first. This covers two things for us. This covers our annual registration fee. So $7 a month goes toward that. And then the rest of it is for just any kind of car related expense. So changing the oil, washing the car. We also plan to use this as a supplement to our emergency fund if something happens to our vehicle that is easily fixed. So like the tires need replacing or the brakes need replacing or something like that. Obviously, car expenses is not meant to, for us, it's not meant to fund the purchase of a new vehicle. That's like a separate savings category. And we will be putting some money aside once we get our 6 months of expenses saved. We are going to be putting money toward a new car because our car is on the older side. And so we want to have some cash saved up so that if the car goes kaput on us, we at least have a little bit of a cash reserve there to buy a new car with. But that is not from this expense. This expense is purely like oil changes, car washes, and then, to supplement our emergency fund for a car related emergency. So we give it $57 a month, and you may not think that's a lot, but we just crossed $500 saved in this category in the 2 years that we've been budgeting. And we have used it. We've paid for oil changes. We've washed the car. I think we even had like a deductible or something, or no, maybe I don't think I had to pay a deductible. I've gotten into 2 car accidents within the last year, neither of which were my fault. And so I don't think I had a deductible actually as a result of that. But, either way, like a deductible would come from this, like those sorts of things. Anyways, moving right along. Home maintenance is up next. This is a category that would cover, any kind of home maintenance related items that we needed to buy. So like we bought fire extinguishers recently, that came from this, just like stuff like that. And then also it's also used to supplement our emergency fund in the event of a home maintenance related emergency. So like if our dishwasher went out or, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I don't know, just think like if we needed to have our dryer repaired or something like that, this would supplement our emergency fund in the event of something like that happening. Because this one has taken a hit more frequently than our car expenses one, I am going to be putting $50 toward it and then supplementing it with $50 also with my Etsy and YouTube cash stuffing for the month of March. So we want to make sure that we're putting more money into this one. It's been pulled from a lot recently, and so we're just trying to build it back up again. Same with medical. Medical has taken a hit recently. Mr. Simple had 2 emergency room visits in 1 week. And so, that'll kill a medical fund and an emergency fund quicker than you can say Bob's your uncle. So medical is going to be getting $100 from this month. And then I'm going to supplement with Etsy and YouTube $25. And so that's how we handle this. If I ever feel like, I want to add a little bit more money into this category, I supplement it with my Etsy and YouTube pay to make sure that, we're beefing these categories up if we feel like they're a little light. Next up is clothes. We've been doing okay in this one recently. I'm not allowed to say it so that I don't jinx it, but I just said it, so I probably jinxed it. I'm putting $50 toward it this month, and I'm going to be supplementing it $25 with my Etsy and YouTube pay. Haircuts. Haircuts is one that we feel like we got to start adding a little bit more money into. My son was growing his hair out, and so he needed a haircut much less frequently. Now he's got short hair, and so he needs a haircut more regularly. And so I'm putting $75 toward it this month, and I'm also going to be supplementing it $25. And then we will reorient our budget probably to reflect the new need for his haircut. Next up is spending money. This is my husband's, this is his, and he gets $50 a month. And then I actually have 3 different envelopes in my cash binders that are all related to my spending. I have hers, which is personal spending money. I have pretty hair, which is money that I set aside for my haircut every single month from my personal spending. And then my new envelope as of this year is called Save Yo Money Ho. And that is for me to set money aside so that I am spending more intentionally. However, when I'm doing the budget with me, I just lump it all together under hers and I get $175 a month. And so from this, I pull my haircut money, I pull my personal spending money, and then I pull my intentional spending money. And so I can orient that however I choose, which is why I don't break it down here because it's not necessary. This is just like for like basic purposes for Mr. Simple and I to go over together. Next up, we've got dates, and I think we are going to be going on a date relatively soon to celebrate getting 3 months saved in our high yield savings account for our emergency fund, which is super duper exciting. I found a burger joint that I'm really excited about. So when we go, I will report back to you guys if you're in the DFW area, and then maybe you can enjoy it too. But for now, it's going to be getting $30. So that's exciting. Next up is family fun. This is another one that we've been building up quite nicely, actually. It's going to be getting $30 as well. This just funds different family related activities that we do, whether we rent a movie at home or like in the summertime when we go to the beach to pay for like our parking all day and that sort of thing. But we've got like a nice little chunk of change in there right now, which is exciting because it kind of gives us a little bit of money to start the summer with, which is fun. So anyways, moving right along. Gifts is up next. And gifts is something that from month to month, I'll put about like between $30 to $50 in it. I supplemented it with Etsy and YouTube for February because it was my daughter's birthday and I just wanted to make sure that we had some extra money. I haven't filmed my Etsy or YouTube stuffing for February yet, so stay tuned for that one. But because it left us in a decent spot actually at the end of the month, I decided to just budget $30 for it this month. And now next up we have Partay. This is money that we put aside. Oh, I just wrote party, not partay. Partay is a Friends reference, by the way. If you are new here, I am a huge Friends fan. And honestly, sometimes I get mad at myself for not naming all of my envelopes after Friends related quotes or lines or whatever. I actually had, I'm sorry, I know this is like not budget related at all, but I had a customer order some envelopes from my Etsy shop, and she chose names for them that were all Friends related. And I just thought that it was so clever. For her dates envelope, she chose He's Her Lobster. And for her travel envelope, she called it London Baby. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so creative. I just love, like, whenever you guys order stuff for me, I love to see what you call your envelope categories anyway. But if it's Friends related, I'm always like, I'm sold out for that. So anyways, partay is a Friends reference. And I'm putting $40 toward it this month. We are very fortunate in that our kids' birthdays are 6 months apart. So, I have a full 6 months to save from one birthday party to the next. Plus, it's also like, if I decide to have some friends over for wine and cheese or coffee and like little brunchy bits, the money comes from this as well. So it's sort of like a multi-use envelope, but not super multi-use. Next up is school things, and this covers back to school expenses, book fare money, picture money, yearbook money, anything school related, dances, that kind of stuff. And we're doing okay in the envelope this month, and so I decided to put $25 toward it. Still giving it money, but not feeling the need to put as much toward it as I have since school started. I feel like we're finally sitting at a good number in there, and I can kind of slow down how much I'm giving to it. And that's the nice thing too about budgeting throughout the year is you'll kind of see what you spend on what when. And that will enable you and empower you to make decisions from month to month to really throw some extra money toward another category that you feel light in. And this is one of the cool ways of doing that is, especially with your sinking funds, you can play around with the numbers that you put toward them every single month so that you can fund other things that matter as well. And we do that a lot. All right, next up, we've got our tiny holidays, our little holidays, the holidays that don't take as much money from us. So Valentine's, Easter, Halloween, and Thanksgiving. Valentine's Day gets $5 a month from us. Easter gets $7. Halloween gets $12, and Thanksgiving gets $30. We also have a new holiday category in our holiday sinking funds binder that is Eat Dessert First. And I'm telling you that for two reasons. One, because if you want to take my idea and use it for yourself, we host a holiday open house, essentially like a dessert and charcuterie open house. We did it on Thanksgiving weekend this year. Huge mistake because I also hosted Thanksgiving this year. Or I'm sorry, we hosted it on Thanksgiving last year. This year, I'm going to host it like a week or two after Thanksgiving so that I can give myself a break between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But you're still in that festive season when everybody wants to like have a party to go to with good food and drinks and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a person who likes to bake, and I also love making a charcuterie board. I think I have a charcuterie video, so I'll go ahead and put that up for you guys now if you want to see it. But I love to bake, and I can't really eat baked goods. So I was like, this is a good way for me to get out all of my baking desires and not have to eat everything. And so that's what we do. So we host an open house. We invite friends and neighbors, and they can come and go as they please, which is nice too. Then you don't feel like pigeonholed into an event time, and you can just kind of float around whenever it suits you. So anyways, we're not budgeting for it yet. We're still trying to decide how we want to go about funding it. But for the most part, we have like a loose plan, but it doesn't right now. It's not something we're going to be creating a category for to put money toward every single month. Christmas is up next. This is our big one. We are, sometimes talking and spelling at the same time is not my strong suit. Christmas is the big event in our house every single year. It is something that we spend a lot of money on because it is a holiday that is near and dear to my heart. I'm very nostalgic toward it. I had lovely Christmases growing up that my mom and dad made very festive, despite the fact that, we didn't have a lot of money. And so I cherish those memories, and I want my kids' Christmases to be just as special. So it is where we spend most of our money. Well, I would say it's the biggest single expense that we have in our house. So we put $275 a month toward that to facilitate that. Next up, we have pool. This is the pool membership that we have at our local pool, and for us, it is worth the money. I love sunshine. My kids love to swim. And so it costs us $375 for the summer season. And so we save $32 a month to get us there. Last up is going to be vacation. And this is a relatively new thing that we've been able to save for every single month ever since my hubby got a raise. And so we have the wiggle room to budget $220 toward it. And then I will be supplementing it for the foreseeable future with Etsy and YouTube Pay, an extra $30, because I really want to get us to $250 a month. And then that gives us a baseline for kind of deciding what we have the flexibility to do every single year. In future, we will probably plan out vacations a few years in advance so that we know exactly what we need to budget when we reach that year. But for the time being, since we are still creating broad financial health for ourselves, this is how we've handled doing it. We just kind of find money in places where we've got extra things, especially if we get like a tax refund or an escrow refund, something like that. That's when we'll apply found money to like our vacations. And it's worked for us for the 2 years that we've been doing this so far. So hopefully we can keep it working moving forward. Anyways, the total from this section is $1,293. And the supplemental section over here is an additional $155 that I need to apply toward these supplemental categories for this month. Last up for the day for us is our savings. Now, I'll rate emergency here. We are, like I mentioned, we are saving up 6 months of expenses as an emergency fund for us in our high yield savings account. And so what I do is I apply whatever money is left over after I do all of the budgeting toward the emergency fund. Our goal is to get $2,000 in there a month. And so whatever I can't reach by budgeting, I supplement with Etsy and YouTube. So that's how we handle it. So before I write that number down, I always figure out, so we have investment accounts for our son and our daughter, and they're just through Fidelity, and it's just like their baseline. It like follows the S&P, and we put $25 a month toward each of their investment accounts. And so with that $50 pulled from the rest of it, it left me with $1,988.88 to put toward the emergency fund. And so since we like to get it up to $2,000, I will be supplementing it $11.12 with Etsy and YouTube. And that's it. That covers all $8,843.76 that comes into our house. There's not a penny missing. This is how we do it. And I gotta tell you, if you are new to this, I cannot recommend this way of budgeting to you enough. It is the best, most effective way of making sure that you never need to swipe a credit card again. We have gotten out of debt. We have stayed out of debt. We have not put another penny on a credit card ever since we paid it off. And this method is the method that has enabled us to have such long term. We've literally only been out of debt since May of last year, but I still consider that a victory because prior to that, we've only ever had debt. So I'm calling it a victory. Anyways, that's it. I'm going to zoom you guys back out and we'll finish the video. All right, everyone. Well, that's going to do it for me for today's video. I hope that you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them down in the comments below. I recognize that when you're starting in something like this, it can seem a little overwhelming and a little scary. And it's also important to remember that Again, we are a family of 4, and so the list of expenses that we have here may be completely different to yours if those aren't your circumstances. But I hope that regardless, you're able to glean something from my videos. And like I said at the beginning, please, please, please watch several different content creators, because it's going to give you the broadest picture of different categories to look at when it comes to your own personal spending. So I am not the end of the road. There are plenty of people out there who may have something that's a little bit more relevant to you. And it's just helpful to pick up tips and tricks from other people as well. I think it's nice to have as much information and as many resources at your fingertips as you can get. So anyways, that's going to do it for me. I lost all of my thoughts there. I will be back with you guys again on Friday. I'm going to be doing my weekly check-in. So if you are new, the budget is wonderful, but the expense tracking is crucial. So I'll be back on Friday to show you how we do the expense tracking after we've created a plan. What does it look like to hold your spending accountable and to make sure that you're staying in budget? So that's what those videos are for. I have a plethora of them on my channel too. So if you're, wanting to just kind of get a little preview, you'll be able to see what that looks like. They're going to be like February expenses still. I know I'm a little early with the March budget with me, but it's just the way that the calendar falls too. So anyways, we also still have one more February cash stuffing as well. So it's a funky time. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you did, I would love it so much if you would give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. And like I said, I'll be back with you on Friday with the weekly check-in. So until then, I hope you guys have a good one. Bye, everyone.